The ink on the death certificate hadn't even dried yet, and Derek was already standing in front of me with his hand out, asking for the house keys. It was 11:17 in the morning in this Phoenix, Arizona house where I had spent the last 6 years taking care of Dad. Mom was standing in the kitchen packing dishes, as if this were just a normal move. My sister Rachel was by the door holding a cardboard box with my name written on it. Nobody cried. There were no arguments. Derek simply said, "This house is ours now, Elena. Your name isn't in the will." I just stood there, still holding Dad's medication schedule, which I had managed like a trust accountant for 14 years. In that moment, it dawned on me that this decision wasn't made today. It had been written on the wall for months. I was just the last one to be told. If you believe that scores should be settled even within a family, then subscribe to Storyhaven Daily right now, because this story is just getting started. But its roots went back years. Since I was 16, I had been the unspoken accountant of this family, working without a salary. When Derek racked up credit card debt in college, I paid it off with my first paycheck, without telling a soul. When Dad was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, I kept a record of his every medication, every appointment, and every insurance claim in a separate spreadsheet titled Father's Care Log. When Rachel needed money after her divorce, I gave her $32,000 from my own savings with zero interest, accompanied only by a gentle note saying, "Pay me back whenever you can." It was never paid back, and I never asked for it. In my profession, this is called an unrecorded liability, a debt that isn't written on paper, but always keeps the balance sheet off kilter. I was paying the price for the family's peace all by myself year after year, without ever getting a receipt. I played this role for years, thinking that my silence was my contribution. But that day, at 4:53 in the afternoon, I realized the true cost of my role. Derek practically snatched the front door key out of my hand and told me that my belongings had already been put in the garage. When I went inside, I saw all my files, 14 years worth of Dad's medical and financial records that I had meticulously maintained, stuffed into a plastic tub and covered with an old tarp. My laptop was still right there on the table, but the password had been changed. Mom didn't even look in my direction. She just said, "We already discussed all this, Elena. We didn't think we needed to tell you." I didn't ask a single question. I simply took out my car keys, lifted that tub, and put it in the trunk, exactly like someone filing a closing audit. Nothing broke inside me, something just shut down completely. And in that very moment, I decided to leave Phoenix. Within 3 weeks, I moved to Denver, Colorado, where an old friend from college got me a spot at a small accounting firm. A new city, a new apartment, a tiny studio on West Colfax Avenue where the walls were so thin you could even hear the neighbor's kettle whistle. I didn't change my phone number, holding on to the thought that maybe a call would come. No call ever came. For months, I would wake up at 6 in the morning, go to the office, reconcile clients' trust accounts, and return to my empty apartment at night. I never gave words to my pain. I just channeled it into professional discipline, keeping every file flawless, as if this was my only identity. If you too have ever done everything for your family and received nothing but silence in return, tell us in the comments where your story came to a halt. At Storyhaven Daily, we want to hear from you. Over a year had passed when, at 7:29 in the morning, a colleague from my old firm, Marcus, called me. There was hesitation in his voice. "Elena," he said, "I know this is going to sound weird, but the probate file for your dad's estate is still sitting pending at the clerk's office in the Maricopa County Court. Nothing is moving forward." I asked him why. He explained that the title company had tried to verify the chain of trust before selling the house, and they found a glitch. The notary seal on the trustee document had an expiration date that was 2 weeks prior to the filing. I stood there holding the phone at my kitchen counter, the very place where I had reviewed clients' files for years. No wave of anger rose inside me, no sense of urgency. Just a calm, cold clarity that years of auditing had taught me. Every mistake leaves a paper trail behind it. And I decided to track down that trail. That night, I opened my old banker's box, the very same tub I had tossed into the trunk when I left Phoenix. At the bottom, inside a manila folder, I found the real, original document prepared in 2015, when Dad first had his revocable living trust drawn up. It clearly stated, Successor Trustee, Elena Carter. That document had never been formally revoked. I spent every evening after work for the next 3 weeks scouring the Maricopa County Recorder's website, downloading public filings, and cross-checking the reference numbers in notary logbooks. I built a spreadsheet with a timeline of every date, every seal number, and every signature. The notary who had certified Derek's 2023 document had a license that expired in the Arizona Secretary of State's records on the 29th of March. The document was signed on the 12th of April. A 13-day oversight, and the entire transfer was legally hollow. The implication was straightforward. In the eyes of the law, I was still the sole, legitimate successor trustee of that trust. I didn't call a lawyer. I didn't write an angry email. I simply did what 14 years of training had taught me to do. I prepared the documentation. I ordered a certified copy of the trust, got an official confirmation letter of the expiry from the notary board, and submitted a formal affidavit of trustee to the title company. Every step was calm. Every step was procedural. Nobody caught wind of it because this wasn't high drama. It was just a correction. I knew that the day the title company processed my affidavit, the power Derek held would automatically vanish, without ever needing to step foot in a courtroom. The next time someone thinks about mistaking your silence for weakness, remember, sometimes the biggest comeback is a properly filled out form. Want to know what happens when Derek finds out? Hit like and stay tuned to Storyhaven Daily. The real twist is yet to come. 9 weeks later, at 2:08 in the afternoon, I was standing outside the Maricopa County Recorder's office with a manila envelope in my hand, holding the file-stamped affidavit of successor trustee. I hadn't given Derek and Rachel any heads up, because this wasn't a surprise party. It was a legal notice. The title company had already sent them a notification via certified mail that the sale of the property was on hold until the trusteeship issue was resolved. When I arrived at Dad's house, Derek was standing at the door, holding that very letter, his face drained of all color. He asked, "What kind of joke is this, Elena?" I didn't raise my voice. I simply pointed at the letter and said, "It's not a joke, it's verification. The notary's seal on your document expired 13 days prior. Legally, the trusteeship never even transferred." Mom stepped outside, wearing that same old expression on her face, as if I was just stirring up trouble again. I looked at her and said, "I'm not here to fight. I'm just here to set the record straight." I repeated myself, and in that exact moment, I realized that in this entire family, I was the only one who had ever kept the real score. Over the next few weeks, acting as the legal trustee, I saw the sale process of the property through to completion, logging every single dollar in a clear accounting statement, exactly as I would for a client. The money that came in, I divided it equally among the 3 heirs strictly according to Dad's will, including my own share. Not a penny more, or a penny less. Derek tried to talk to me one last time, saying, "You could have transferred everything to your name. We wouldn't have even known." I looked at him and said very calmly, "That's the difference between us, Derek. I didn't want to be like you. I just wanted the record to be right." I still live in Denver today, still doing the same work, managing trusts and estates, keeping the books balanced. But now I know this lesson, and I want to share it with you. Keeping the peace isn't really peace. It's just rent that we keep paying for far too long. If this story hit close to home for you, don't forget to subscribe to Story Haven Daily. See you in the next story.